I'm not joking when I say that this is literally my assignment in order to earn my lunch. No well-loved library, no I'm so sorry, Fitz. No well-loved, cleaned-up library, no lunch for Winnie. This is what it's come down to, y'all. And welcome back to another video. Now, while I do have a list of videos that is literally as long as my arm, like I could quite literally start here and just carry on. And yes, I did do that with a pen with a lid because nobody should ever trust me with the clicky kind. I realised the other day that on top of the various like mental health gremlins that we've been dealing with over the past month or so, one of the things that is most stopping me from actually sitting down and filming all of the stuff that I need to film is the background of my videos. Now let's be real here, it is not unusual in the background of my videos to see something sat just off to the side of me, because while I do try to contain the chaos to one area, that area is just the largest piece available of my floor, which happens in all videos to be just over here, just in the edge of your eye line. And so I would like to start off by saying that I've been quite successful in recent times at keeping that area relatively tidy. You will observe that there is currently nothing on my floor. But that doesn't mean that all is well. While I may successfully have conquered that one particular issue, other issues have just cropped up over time. Like the Sanderson Sisters Lego set, which is all successfully built except for the chimney that I knocked off, but it is just sitting here on this really ugly clear food tray on top of my record player in the background. Like the disaster that is the bottom of my haul trolley, or whatever the hell is going on here. Oh, and let's not forget the pile of disarranged stuffies, the random books perched on the front of shelves because there's no space. And the fact that this particular shelf still includes two knobs from the edge of my curtain rail, and that this general corner has not been like cleaned or redecorated in a really long time. A really long time. Similarly, there are squint picture frames and I don't really know when those were dusted either. Although the plants did get watered recently and they do appear to be thriving. So apparently I'm doing at least one thing right. In all seriousness, the messiness of this room at any given point really does reflect the messiness of the inside of my brain. And when I'm procrastinating things in life, I'm usually also procrastinating things in here. Like the fact, in order to make safe space for the Sanderson sisters' house, something is going to have to give on these shelves. I have no idea really where I want to display it, but if I just shove it up on the top, you're never going to see it. But equally, I'm at the point now where I'm pretty much at capacity on my shelves. The reason that there are books perched on the shelves is because I can't get them on the shelves. Like, I can't get them in the sections where they're supposed to go, which says to me that it's time for another little library refresh. Because if you guys remember the last time that we did this, maybe, I don't know, 8 months ago now, you will remember that the bottom two shelves of this bookcase were kind of just temporarily shoved together. They contain duplicates of books that I've maybe got special editions of, or things like the original Bone Season books by Samantha Shannon, where I now have the author's preferred text editions displayed. Therefore, although I don't really want to unhaul them, I also don't really need to be displaying them. And the shelf above that just became middle grade fantasy. There's Lemony Snicket there is Percy Jackson, and again, those are books that I don't really feel they need to be displaying. So again, if we are tight with shelf space, then those are some of the first books that are gonna go. More yarn came. Okay, in all seriousness, the aim by the end of this video is to have every book that I own comfortably fitting on a shelf, to organise my things and stuff so they're not just everywhere. Completely clear desk, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not prepared to show you that right now. And to do something about this wall. Here's just an overview of the wall again for those of you who haven't seen any of my library reorganisation videos. At the time when I put this wall together, it gave me a lot of joy, but now for whatever reason it's just not. The things on it just no longer feel cohesive, and let's be honest, it's kind of a bitch to dust. When I rearranged last time, I put away a lot of my ocean themed crystals because they just didn't go with the general vibe in here, which is kind of an unholy marriage between witchiness, cottagecore, and a little bit of geek accessory stuff, which, let's be honest, kind of reflects the inside of my head. And while I absolutely do not want to add the rest of my ocean crystals back into a box, I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, these ones now just look sad. So yeah, in short, we do got a lot of work to be doing, and hopefully by the end of it, with calmness in my external surroundings, calmness in my head might sort of reappear. I mean, you know, I might be asking a little bit much of a library reorganisation, but let's give it a good go. And while I'm doing it, I will continue to listen to this. This is The Witching Hour by Anne Rice, and so far it has been a wild ride. Yes, well, I don't know where to start, but okay, welcome to the yarn stash. Well, actually, that's a lie. This is the working yarn stash, as in the stuff that I'm actually using right now. The actual yarn stash is much, much larger and you will never see it. Unless you like crafty content like knitting and scrapbooking and stuff, in which case there are exclusive videos over on Patreon. But I digress. The issue with this is that it started with one very carefully curated basket, and then it just kind of grew as I cast on more new things. But they are constantly overflowing and not aesthetically pleasing, and I also want to somehow position them more around my holly trolley now that Nimbus's basket of soft toys has moved to somewhere else in the house. So yeah, wish me luck, because this is it. I will not be adding any more than these two big project baskets to anywhere in my house. So I guess I better get my finger out, as we say here in Scotland, and get on with it. Yeah, this would be horrible if you could hear it on camera. This has not immediately improved the situation. To get worse before it gets better, right? That's like the law. Don't get me wrong, I'm sounding very doom and gloom, but we have made some significant progress. First of all, after literally 40 minutes of my life, which I will never get back, of untangling some yarn that I had half frogged out of a project and then just left in a ball. Note to future Winnie from present Win, don't do that. I have taken out all of the yarn which was like maybe project yarn, or frogged from projects that have been abandoned and needed to be returned, or in the case of a few things, yarn from completed projects which just had never made it back into my stash. And now we have these two much more manageable baskets. I still need to decide like where I'm putting them in this space and like how I'm arranging them, but that's what we've got. I have also popped my Lemony Snicket set back up on the top of this bookcase from down here, and I need to decide what I'm doing with like the Percy Jackson books and stuff. However, all of the books that were on the top of that bookcase are now just on my floor, along with a few other things that we'll get into later. I have repaired the chimney on my Sanderson sisters' house, which is fabulous, and I will show you it later in more detail. Yes, that is Joshua Jackson, aka Pacey Witter, on my background, still there from the last time that we did a reorganisation of this library, because some things are hyperfixations which last forever, guys. And then we have this. This was incredibly dusty, which I did not enjoy. I don't know if you can hear that bird outside of my window, but it is that time of year where my entire front and back garden just turn into a baby bird sanctuary, so sorry. And also these are now empty, and I'm not gonna lie, now that these are empty, I am more determined than ever that I am taking them down. I just don't want them there anymore. The eventual vision is that this gallery wall will become a gallery wall which also has my cross stitch on it. It will have things like my palmistry hand. It will have this out here, which is embroidery, my magic shop sign, things like that, so that it's just a little bit less flat, and also so that it's a bit more reflective of me. I do very frequently already change out the prints that are in these frames because you do get blind to art if you just see the same thing over and over again. So I will maybe swap out some prints as well when we move them. For now I'm going to take these down, and I think I'm going to take my magic shop sign and actually put it out into the hall, and I'm going to create a little sort of box of goodies that are going to go on that wall once I have enough that I want to actually take the time to reshuffle these. This, however, is going to stay because I have come up with a plan. As we know, this bookcase is my non-fiction bookcase, and as we also know, it's non-fiction till about there. There's a little bit of overspill here, and although this has a hugely high turnover, there are a lot of books that come in and go out of this section all the time. It is always absolutely stuffed, and as you can see, it now no longer fits the things and I'm having to stack books on top. That's because these last two shelves here are all graphic novels, and they obviously take up a lot of space. I already have my children's picture books and stuff here, and a Discworld book that just doesn't fit anywhere else because it's a weird size. But on these two bottom shelves, I have got my collections of sort of like comic, tiny graphic novels. At the bottom here, this is some middle grade. This is the Chris Riddle, Autoline and Goth Girl series. And all of these can potentially come off of there and go onto here. And in doing so, I would clear up these two bottom shelves, which are actually quite wide and there's no sides on them. So some of these more outsized books, for example, in the back there's quite a lot of Discworld books and stuff. They could come out and be decorative on these shelves while also still clearing out a lot of space. Now it still leaves us with the dilemma of this section, wherein there are a ton of books down there that need to get double stacked. I need to decide what I'm doing with Percy Jackson, and all of these books somehow need to go onto these shelves. And also, ultimately, not today because I just don't have the will, but these special editions need to come off of here and go into the shelves in the hall. In case you've never seen the shelves in the hall before, these are actually just pretty decorative, witchy shelves, but they do have a lot of special editions on the bottom. And eventually we're going to get our floor redone at some point next month because we had a leak which went all the way out from the bathroom and has displaced floorboards and stuff. And that means that this is going to have to come down, which means that I'll get a chance to rearrange and redecorate it then. So again, considerations for another day. So the long and short of it is, these just gonna have to stay where they are, but not forever. These need to be organised. This needs to not be on my floor anymore. And I just need to be good with the decisions that I have made and stop dithering about them. Because whenever I make big decorating decisions and stuff, my object permanence goes, awooga, danger. And immediately makes me think that I've done a terrible thing, made a very bad decision, and need to put everything back where it goes immediately, if not sooner. But that is not true. And also, let's be real here for a minute. I am a maximalist. That's never going to change. But there is also a maximum ceiling at which my body is able to maintain my space, because chronic illness and cleaning can be an issue, and I'm allergic to dust. So just think about those two things in relation to each other for a second. But also on a more serious note, I think that I had got to a point where stuff made me happy and stuff made me feel secure, and that I've moved past that point in my life now. So I don't need quite as much stuff to make me feel quite as fulfilled. Anyway, standing here philosophizing about my stuff is not actually going to clear my stuff up, so let's go do that. here is where we are at, and I am sitting down because I am exhausted. I have completely moved all of the books on this bookcase down at least a shelf. So now this bottom shelf is all graphic novels and graphic memoirs and things like that. And my non-fiction is essentially this whole shelf, except for right back there in the corner, see Winnie the Pooh and Tales of Iverdale, and then some of my German workbooks right in the back. Now that does mean that literally all of these shelves have got room to grow. These have historically been stuffed with then like books shoved on top as well, so I am very proud of that. Now down here on these bottom two shelves, which are looking a little bit higgledy-piggledy at the moment, but I will like straighten them up and make them look better shortly. We've got mostly Terry Pratchett on the bottom, then we have got Scottish plant lore and a few of my like outsized comic collections. And then up here we have got everything that is tiny essentially. So we have got the Goth Girl and Autoline books, more of my like dinosaur philosophy and stuff like that. I have finally added my Ted Lasso Funko Pop. I really don't have very many Funko Pops anymore. In fact, I think it might just be Ted and Sadness. Tell me looking at his little mustachioed face is not motivational. And then up the top, I have the Chris Riddle illustrated poetry collections, his illustrated version of The Hunting of the Snark, and then a couple of like Instagram comic collected books. It does leave me with an entire cube, and I don't really know at the moment what I'm going to put on it. I also found this little bag of mushrooms and acorns and various other little tiny crystal carved things, which I think I'm going to put around my Sanderson sisters' house. So I think Sanderson sisters and probably the Spiderwick Chronicles books are going to eventually go in a cube all together. In less fun news, we have not really made any progress on this side whatsoever. Pretty much as everything is in the same spaces that it was before, and we still have a bunch of books on the floor. When it comes to this little bookcase here, I have never liked the look of it since I reorganized it way back when. It really is just a mishmash of literary fiction, historical fiction, modern classics, special editions of some classics, and then some kidlit on the bottom, and I have never enjoyed it. It has just never looked like what I've wanted it to look like. And the problem is that obviously I'm not adding any more physical storage to my library. So this is just going to have to be something that I put up with and deal with. But that doesn't mean that I can't try and improve it. So I'm going to have a break. I'm probably going to have dinner, and then I'm going to come back and do this again. In all seriousness, every time I do this, every time I take this on, I know that it's going to be a much bigger project than I thought that it was going to be. And every single time I tell myself, like, it's okay, don't freak out, everything's going to be fine. And yet I freak out because everything is not fine in quick order. It always takes a long time. It always takes longer than I meant for any of it to take. All is by no means lost. We are actually making cracking progress, truly good, decisive progress. It's just that it's taken me a while to get there. I will be back very soon to show you my further progress. It's okay. It's all gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay. I may have bit off a little bit more than I could chew yesterday, because even when I budget for the body stuff, I don't necessarily budget for the amount of, mileage that I have with these projects. So for context, everything that I did yesterday took me about a half a day, which might not seem like a lot, but when you're not a task focuser, you're focusing on one task, things are difficult. But we have made really solid progress, so let me show you where we are. This is the current state of these shelves that are in front of my desk, and I actually love them. I didn't expect to. I fully expected to be like, oh, they just look scrappy and thrown together, but I adore them. I did put all of my Little Women collection on this shelf. I do need to find something to go in that little gap there, so I'll do that shortly. Doubtless there will be something lying around that will fit it nicely. Finished is a win because it is not exactly the situation in the rest of this room. There are now tons and tons and tons of gaps or spaces for this collection to grow. I'm missing a few books because one of my friends uses my non-fiction collection like a lending library. But other than that, for once, all of my non-fiction fits on these shelves without any kind of like shoving books on top, turning them weirdly on their side, cramming them in. And ultimately all I'm looking for out of this is to be satisfied that everything fits. I don't really think I'm going to be aesthetically pleased with anything that goes on this side, as we've discussed. That's okay, because not everything can be perfect, right? Either way, one of these cubes over on the right, probably this, because then you can see down and into the Sanderson house, and you will probably be able to spy it in my background as I like switch around where I film, is going to be sacrificed for Lego. And yes, then once again I will clean my desk, because it is a travesty of justice and it is where I have thrown everything that I haven't known where to put. So we are definitely at the point in proceedings where I require a body double. So Harry's hanging out in the background.
Hello.
No matter what I do, I hate it. To the conclusion that if no matter what I do, I hate it, I might as well just make things convenient for myself. I really dislike having the literary fiction and conglomeration of classics and all that stuff hanging out on these shelves. They don't look good together, they don't look cohesive, they just look like a mishmash of genres that I sometimes dip my toe into. So I'm putting them all on these shelves here. So a little bit on the edge of the thriller shelf and then mostly on the shelf underneath. I have now double stacked the old Samantha Shannons and also the old editions of my Diviners series. So they are now smooshed at the back here, and right down in this corner here is the Anita Blake books. So in this spot I am now going to put my Percy Jackson and all of the books that follow that up. And then I think what I'm going to be left with on these shelves is mostly like special editions of classics and stuff that I'm going to have to try and find a pleasing aesthetic for. But we are getting closer to emptying a cube for this, and that does make me happy. I do feel like I'm going to have to figure out some sort of lighting situation for it. Weirdly, it's a beautiful build, but there are only certain ways to open the build up, and because of that it's quite dark. There is a light bricks kit that you can get for it, but it's really, really spenny. So I'm thinking maybe in the meantime I just do some sort of fairy light situation so that we can actually see the inside of it lit up in the background. Wish me luck, and also wish Harry luck, because he might need it. Job to keep me sane for the next couple of hours.
That'll be easy, no problem at all. Come on, next bit.
No next bit.
Next bit.
No more bits.
Yes, bits. It's
No
nearly
more
done.
bits.
Nearly done.
I'm done.
It's nearly done.
I'm done.
Another little bit.
I don't want to do another look.
I know, but do it anyway.
That's so mean.
I am mean.
So we are honestly nearly there. We genuinely are nearly there. I think I've almost decorated this to my satisfaction. The Sanderson sisters do have an entire cube, and then the gate kind of had to go above. There was nothing I could do about it. It just doesn't fit in any configuration. So I've put the Spiderwick Chronicles books behind for the vibes. And then just a couple of witchy bits. I'm considering out in the hallway behind some books to take up some of the like white space. I have printed out on just some distressed paper some quotes and passages, and I'm considering doing that behind there, so it looks like there's kind of like a spellbook page behind them, just so that there's not as much like blank space up there until I decide what I'm doing in terms of lighting. And then we get to the shelves that I just hate. No matter what I do with them, I just hate them. I was saying to Harry that I've run the entire like pipeline gamut from like, I like it, but not a lot. I don't like it. It's true. Harry says it's fine. I don't think it's fine. I think it's significantly less than fine. I think it's awful. But ultimately, I think anything that can't be hidden on that shelf is going to end up double stacked as like sci-fi and fantasy grows and other collections grow. It does also really bother me that sections are split up. So like I would say that these are the Flavia Duluth books are like crime, sort of. I hesitate to say cozy crime because you know how I feel about that word, but like maybe cozy crime. And then obviously then we've got like romantic thrillers, then we've got some urban fantasy and children's books, but eventually I will have all of my sections together. So I guess this is just like version 2. This is version 2 of Girls of Having a Home Library, I guess. Okay, so Harry says that I need to do more stuff.
A little bit more, then it'll be close to finished.
As promised, here are the books that are leaving my shelves. Some of them because I've tried them and I DNF'd them. Some of them because I've read them and I'm not going to read them again. And others because they just are going to sit there forever. I do have to admit to myself sometimes with TBR veterans that the person that I used to be when I picked up those books is not the person that I am now reading wise. My tastes have changed and my priorities have changed, and so some of them just need to go, and then of course there are some that are leaving because, well, I forgot to throw the boys in. I'll bring them down in a minute. Different day, different trousers, same top. Can you believe it? Not gonna lie, I most certainly could not. It felt like this, oh, I can't have my lunch until I get this done project was never gonna end. In the end, it took 2 and a little bit days to completely realise my vision of swizzling this room around. Now, don't get me wrong, are there things that I would change? Sure, absolutely. I would literally always like to change these shelves. I think ultimately what I actually want is a completely separate bookcase and a totally separate room for everything that's like literary fiction and middle grade. Like my horror shelves are down in my living room and my witchy reference books are all out in the hall. I just kind of wish that I had one more place in my house where I could put a bookcase, but I do not. And as per the rule that we instated, a year and a half ago now, no new furniture will be added. This is it. This is what it looks like whether I like it or not. The one thing I will say is that every single time I do any kind of project like this in this room, I do always end up kind of refining my collection and refining my taste and realising what actually matters to me to keep and what realistically can go and isn't really that important. And it has changed every time. Every single time that I've done this, there has been a new priority somewhere, something else has slipped to the bottom of the stack. And you know what? I'm good with that because my library, like me, is an ever-evolving situation. And I absolutely fell in love with my little Sanderson sisters setup. It definitely needs some sort of lights in there, some sort of something to brighten it up. Whether that ends up eventually being the light bricks pack or not, who knows. And as you can see, almost all of my shelves now have some growing room. My non-fiction shelves in particular have almost half a shelf, which is essentially taken up with tiny books that have been sat on their side. There is tons and tons of real estate there. Similarly, I've gotten rid of enough of my literary fiction books and things over time that there is a huge gap on that shelf too, so that my thriller collection can either expand or, as I've said, in time I can shift things around so that my sci-fi is all together, my urban fantasy is all together, and fantasy gets a bigger chunk of the pie. The only one thing I don't like at the moment is this setup over here. I much prefer these baskets like on the floor at either side of this trolley, but we're storing this little stool temporarily in here, so I'm just gonna have to, you know, deal with it until our spare room is cleaned out enough that it can go in there instead. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm quite a happy Winnie. I feel very satisfied by the progress that we have made and by the fact that this took me 2.5 days instead of 2.5 weeks, and there was only one tiny little mental breakdown and moment of I don't want to do this anymore right in the middle. A massive thank you to my patrons who cheered me on throughout this entire process. We every sort of 3 or 4 months do a set of sprints that are spring cleaning sprints where we can all just with no judgment take stock of our surroundings and decide what we're keeping and what we're throwing. They're like very encouraging, very cheerleady. Lots of us are neurodivergent, so we're working through things out loud in real time and often just like kind of need permission to get rid of stuff. And it's just a really nice atmosphere. So whenever I do this, I take straight to Discord to be like, please help me. And invariably everybody is absolutely lovely. So that's it from me and from McNabb. And in the comments, tell me one thing that you would change about your library if you could. Is it just having enough shelves to put your books on, or is there some sort of like lofty aesthetic that you're aspiring to? If you're new here and you enjoyed watching me play with books and just, you know, pet and annoy cats, then please hit that subscribe button down below. And if you are a returning subscriber who is delighted for a little bit more chaos, then please hit that like button on your way out because it really does help my channel, and I will speak to you guys really soon. Bye!